Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's the weekend. It's the weekend. It's the weekend, and we made it, y'all. Come on in. Hold on. Let me get to my chat. Let me get to my chat. I don't think I have any mods here. I saw Amazing. Good morning, Amazing. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to see you in the chat. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay on though, but I do want to say thank you for joining this morning, and it's so good to see you. Oh, okay. We got Candy Corn. Hey, Candy Corn. Miss Gloria. All right, I got a couple. I got a couple. How y'all doing today? Today is a good day. I hope everybody's having a blessed, beautiful day. We're gonna get into this review or whatever you want to call it of part. I think we're on part five. Part five of this whole murder. Well, not actually. It's Miss Gloria Satterfield, but you know. We're reacting to Murder on Murders podcast. And one of the mods can please put the link to this chat in the link to this channel in the chat for me, please. If you don't mind, I appreciate all y'all joining. Hey, Miss K. Oh, excuse me. Hey, Reggie. Let's see who else we got here. Slay. Hey, Slay, you in the bushes. Okay. Hey, Naya. Oh, y'all, excuse me. Excuse me. That felt good, though. Okay. So we're going to get it started, y'all. Hopefully, the truth to be able to join. Trey may be up, or whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and get it started because I'm going to get this live out the way because I got a couple more other lives to do today. I don't know why I'm yawning, y'all. I just started. Like, literally just started when I hit the live button. I don't know. Anyway, please be sure to hit the like button on your way in. Also, feel free to support the channel, okay? All right, so let's get into it, y'all. Hopefully, I think everybody that's in here this morning pretty much has been with us throughout this little journey. Y'all, listen. Hey, man, Margie, you in the bushes? Okay, thank you, boo. Thank you, Candy. So, listen, y'all. We are going to be starting the trial coverage next week for those that was waiting for that. Thank you, Miss Gloria. For those that's been waiting for the trial coverage, we are going to start on whatever I can get in this weekend. As far as these videos, I'll get in, but we absolutely are going to start the trial coverage on Monday. Okay, y'all. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully y'all are too as well. I think my grandbaby just pulled up. Y'all give me a second. Let me get him settled, and then I'll be right back.
Are you there? I don't hear no audio. Or is it just me?
Wait a minute, have I been? Wait a minute, Have I been muted this whole time? Have y'all heard any of what we
I ain't
played,
heard.
y'all, since I came back? Y'all let me know in the chat. Damn
I ain't
it,
heard nothing. I ain't heard nothing since I said I was coming up in the chat.
I've been muted the whole time, E. Brooks. What? Yes, no. Good morning, Looney. What is no? Okay, I don't even know what to ask. Okay, listen. So y'all haven't heard anything since I've been back. You have been. Oh God, I am so sorry, y'all. I'm sitting up here listening to the. You don't count, Trey. You just showed up. Happy Friday, Looney. Thank you. You said muted. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. My God,
So
today.
you just hogging all the commentary to yourself, huh? Can't nobody else hear
I
it.
guess I did not know I wasn't. Y'all just sit here. Oh God. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. Good morning, Trey. Don't come in here with that bull. First you said you had been muted. I said yeah. Okay, E Bruce. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, boo. Trey, don't start.
I
All right,
didn't
y'all.
do it.
You sound like you just rolling out of bed.
About
Mm,
7 minutes ago.
so sad. Just lazy. All right, y'all. I apologize. I'm gonna start from the beginning. I was only like maybe 2, 3 minutes in anyway. So I apologize, y'all. Once again, thank y'all so much for joining me this morning. Be sure to hit the like button if you don't mind, and also feel free to hit the cash app and support the channel, y'all. Here we go. I apologize. All right. For those that's just joining, we are now into what happened to Miss Gloria Satterfield part 5, y'all. And I did stay at the beginning of the live. I'm gonna get in as many as these lives because I think it's a part 6. So we're gonna do this one today, depending on how long it takes. We may go ahead and do part 6. So tomorrow we can listen to um the jailhouse conversations between Alec Murdoch and his son Buster. And then on Monday we are absolutely going to start the trial coverage, okay? So with that being said, let's get into it, y'all. Happy Friday, happy weekend.
I don't know if anyone killed Gloria Satterfield, but this week investigators released the 911 call from the incident that led to her death. And unfortunately, the mystery keeps deepening. My name is
Good
Manny
morning,
Matney.
Fancy.
I'm the news director at FitzNews.com, and I've been investigating the Murdoch family for more than 2.5 years now. This is the Murdoch Murders Podcast. So we are back from Thanksgiving break, and this week has already been chock full of Murdoch murder news. We had another episode almost ready to go today. But then, as Murdoch murders news goes, something else broke and changed our plans. But we're not complaining. We both had a lot of time to reflect over this break, and we have so many people to thank for getting us here. Today, the Murdoch Murders podcast was named the #5 best news show on Apple of 2021. And that is a big deal. I'm going to talk more about what this means to me and the long list of people that we have.
Trey, you in trouble.
For what?
Fancy said, Trey, I couldn't chat in your chat last night. I haven't been subscribed for 3 years. She mad.
You gotta blame the riffraff for that.
No, why blame the riffraff?
Because they ruined it for everybody.
Okay. Well, she's upset. It's okay, Fancy.
We'll fix it fast.
to thank for helping us get to this moment, and we'll get into all of that at the end of this episode. So on Tuesday, November 30th, nearly 4 years after Gloria Satterfield died from injuries in an alleged trip and fall incident on Alec Murdaugh's property, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, released the 911 call in the incident. The 911 call was released in response to a Freedom of Information Act request made by Fitz News, which is why we were able to break the story. So despite some documents stating that the incident took place in Hampton County, South Carolina, this incident actually took place at the Moselle property in Colleton County, the same property where Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were found murdered on June 7, 2021. SLED opened an investigation into Gloria Satterfield's death on September 15th. The same day, her son's attorneys, Eric Bland and Ronald Richter, filed a lawsuit against Alec Murdaugh and his co-conspirators, who are accused of scheming to steal millions of dollars from Satterfield's wrongful death settlement. Murdaugh is still behind bars on charges related to the Gloria Satterfield case. But while
y'all do remember that this is way before Alec was even charged or even convicted of the murder of his wife and son. This is like months before. So at this time when they're doing this part, hi D Truth, good to see you. I've been in your bushes over there around y'all. Thank you for joining this morning. I appreciate it. So this is way before this podcast was done. Way before Alec Murdaugh was actually even charged. And I think at this time he was a person of interest in the murders of his wife and son, but he hadn't been arrested or anything like that. So this podcast was actually dropped. It said it originally published as an audio podcast on December 1st, 2021, but it was dropped on YouTube 8 months ago. Okay. Thank you for that link, Ebruce. Ebruce, did you drop Luna's link? All right, here we go, y'all.
so much is known about what went wrong in that settlement, we still know very little about how Gloria died. So today, we are going to go
Did you
through
follow this, D True? Did you follow this case? I know a lot of people did.
911 call and everything we know about what happened to Gloria. Maggie Murdaugh called 911 around 9:24 a.m. on Friday, February 2nd, 2018. I'm going to start by saying it's hard to listen to this phone call. Hearing the voices of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh on the property where they were murdered just 3 years later is haunting.
9:24 a.m. 38 seconds, February 2, 2008.
Oh, yeah, my daughter's calling. Give me just a second.
Did she walk off again? What is she doing? Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing? How is y'all's
Hey, I don't
Friday?
walk off. I don't just walk off like you. I did excuse myself.
Whatever.
Okay?
This time,
Thank you, Miss Gloria.
typically you just walk off.
Thank you, Miss Gloria. Yeah, thank y'all for supporting these lives. I appreciate it. Thank you, D True. If he was listening, he would have heard that. That let you know he's not listening. Mm-hmm.
Stop throwing me under the bus.
18.
$911 emergency. 4147 Rosedale Road. Hey, can you give me the address one more time? Make sure I got it right. Yes, 4147 Rosedale Road. Okay, what's going on out there? I'm sorry? What's going on out there? My housekeeper has fallen and her head is bleeding. I cannot get her up. Okay, you said she's fallen. She's bleeding from the head? Yes. Okay. How old is she? I'm not sure, like 58 maybe.
So Gloria Satterfield was more than Maggie Murdoch's housekeeper. She helped raise Maggie Murdoch's children. She was working in their home for more than 2 decades at this point. Gloria was 57 at the time of this incident. And while we've talked about this many times, it's impossible to judge anybody by their tone of voice on a 911 call. Sources who knew the Murdoch family have described Maggie as emotionally detached, which could explain her matter-of-fact voice here.
Do you know if she fell from standing or not?
No.
Where she fell from?
She's still going up the steps, up the brick steps.
Okay, so she outside or inside?
Outside.
Okay. How many steps is there?
8.
Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the
She's
top?
on the ground. She's on the ground.
Is she conscious?
No, not really.
Is she awake at all?
Yes.
Okay. Is she just not like responding appropriately, but she is awake?
Man, she's not responding.
Okay, I've already got them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down, ma'am. Knowing if she's conscious is one of the things that the medic needs to know. She's responding at all to you.
No.
Okay, so she's not responsive at all.
Well, I mean, she's mumbling.
Okay, so she is somewhat conscious. Is she breathing okay?
Yes.
Is she bleeding from anywhere?
Yes, her head.
Okay, are you guys able to control the bleeding?
No.
Can you
I
put
haven't
a
even
clean
tried.
rag or anything on it?
Here, Maggie appears to be irritated with the dispatcher, whose job is to get the most amount of information for first responders to appropriately take care of the victim before arriving to the scene. When the dispatcher asked if they were able to control the bleeding, it sounds like Maggie says, "I didn't even try." At no point does Maggie ever ask what she can do to help Gloria.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, is she bleeding from like her face, the back of the head,
There's
her
an
neck?
ambulance coming. Sir, my name was?
Where exactly is she bleeding from on her head?
I'm not sure. At the top of her head.
Okay.
Oh, dang.
What happened?
She just fell back down. Can I get off this phone so I can go down there?
Can I have your name and phone number? Are you able to bring the phone down by her?
What?
Or are you on a cell phone where you can walk down there and
I'm
talk?
on a cell phone. No.
Okay, can you bring it with you so we can ask her some questions about what kind of pain she's having?
Here, Maggie is saying that Gloria fell back down, which is an odd phrase when speaking about someone who is lucid and in and out of consciousness.
Yeah,
Maggie-
because I think she pretty much stated that she was not conscious in that way. So, first of all, well, people do, things in situations, but I think pretty much everybody know if you got a head injury, you pretty much don't need. I don't even know at what point she stood up because the lady said she was barely conscious and things of that nature. But let's listen. It's weird.
Maggie Murdoch then handed the phone to her son, Paul Murdoch, who was
Good morning,
18
Soldier Slim. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it.
at the time. Multiple sources familiar with the status of the investigation confirmed that the voice on the recording was Paul Murdoch.
Hello?
Yeah, can you ask the patient what kind of pain she's having?
No, she can't talk.
Okay, do you know?
She's cracked her head and there's blood on the concrete and she's breathing out of her left ear.
Okay, she's bleeding out of her ear.
And out of her head. She's cracked her skull.
Okay. All right, the other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again.
No, I was holding her up. And
Okay.
she told me to turn her loose and she was trying to use her arm, but then she fell back over.
Here, Paul is saying that Gloria was bleeding out of her ear and out of her head, and she cracked her skull. He says very clearly that Gloria is not talking at this point. Then it sounds like he said that he was trying to pick up Gloria up off the ground, and she told him to put him back down, and that's how she fell again. But this is just moments after Paul told the dispatcher that she wasn't talking.
Right.
Okay, do you guys know who she is?
Yeah, she works for us.
So Paul appears to be distancing himself from Gloria here. Gloria, a
Good morning, Jamila. Happy Friday, sweetheart. Good to see you.
person who raised him, is suffering from a traumatic head wound right in front of him, and he's basically referring to her as the help. This is odd because multiple sources have told me that Paul was very close with Gloria. In fact, he had an endearing nickname for Gloria. He called her Go-Go. Paul saw Go-Go as a mother figure, and he loved her like one, according to a source who is close to the Murdoch family. So why is he talking about her like he doesn't care?
Okay, do you know if she's ever had a stroke or anything before?
Ma'am, can you stop asking her
I already have them on the way. I already have them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down in any way. These are relevant questions that I have to ask for the ambulance.
Right here, Paul is obviously annoyed with the dispatcher for asking relevant questions about Gloria's injuries. If you've been listening to this podcast from the beginning, you'll notice a stark difference between the way Connor Cook treated the dispatcher, who asked very irrelevant questions in the 2019 boat crash, and the way that Paul treated the dispatcher here.
One of my questions is, has she ever had a stroke?
I don't believe she's ever had a stroke now that I know that.
Okay. Okay, is she able to talk to you guys at all, or is she unconscious now?
She's not unconscious, she's just mumbling.
Okay.
I believe she's maybe hit her head and maybe has a concussion or something.
Okay.
Maybe.
Do you know what her name is?
Gloria Satterfield.
You said Sanderfield?
Ma'am?
You said Sanderfield?
Satterfield.
Satterfield. Okay, what's the house look like out there?
It's offset off the road.
Okay.
It's a big house, got a wide driveway.
With a long driveway?
Yeah,
Is there a gate or anything down there that they're going to need to come through?
There's two big brick columns that have to come through.
Okay, but there's no, like, gate code or anything that they need?
No, ma'am. And tell them that they can look for a fellow on a 6x6 Ranger.
Okay.
Waiting on them in the road is green. You know what they probably know what the Ranger looks like.
Yeah. You said, like,
Fella's got on a black sweater, a hat, and pants.
It's a little hard to hear, but Paul Murdoch is telling the dispatcher that first responders should look for another man in a six-wheeled utility vehicle at the edge of the Moselle property. Sources have told us that this person was another worker on the property.
Okay. All right. If something changes with her, if she loses consciousness or anything like that, I need one of you guys to call me back right away, okay?
Okay, well, how long is it going to take?
That I don't know. I've had them on the way since Maggie first called me. They were told right away.
So notice right here, the dispatcher says Maggie's name. A few minutes earlier, she referred to Maggie as the lady. And maybe the dispatcher heard Maggie's name when she asked her for her name previously, but she did mumble it and it was very hard to hear. We were told by police that this is an unredacted version of the 911 recording and that investigators didn't edit any parts of this. Now, it is possible that she got a hold of property records while on the phone. Dispatchers
Good morning, Nikki. Thanks for joining, sweetheart. I appreciate you.
can do that. But those property records would say Margaret Murdoch, not Maggie. And maybe she knew Maggie Murdoch lived at the property because they were a well-known family in Colleton County. So whatever it is, it's worth noting.
Okay.
All right, but I think they're coming. Hang on 1 minute. Let me check. They're coming from somewhere on Belt Highway in Ruffin. Okay, that's where their station is.
Thank you.
All right, but like I said, if something changes, call me back. Okay.
So the 911 call ends abruptly. A Colleton County first responders report refers to Gloria as an elderly female who fell while walking up 8 brick steps. The report said that Gloria was semi-conscious and breathing. The earliest first responder arrived at 9:41 a.m. according to the report. They were en route to the hospital by 9:52 a.m. A couple things to note about the 911 call. Gloria's sons were told that Murdoch's dogs caused her to trip and fall, and that she suffered from a traumatic brain injury because of that. However, there was no mention of dogs during that 911 call. And I didn't hear any dogs in the background of the 911 call either.
Me neither.
Another thing is Alec Murdaugh, who allegedly orchestrated the entire wrongful death scheme to scam Gloria Satterfield's family in the aftermath of her death, is not mentioned anywhere in the 911 call. We don't know if he wasn't home or what the deal is there, but he's not mentioned at all. One more thing, nowhere in this 911 call do Maggie or Paul mention a word about what they can do to help Gloria. They both seem more concerned about getting off the phone with the dispatcher than they did about saving Gloria, who was apparently in a dire condition at that time. Here is my co-host, Liz Farrell.
Since we published the 911 story, Fitz News readers have pointed out to Mandy and me that they were particularly surprised by Maggie's instant recollection of how many steps she had. That Gloria was said to have fallen up the stairs.
That that kind of behooved me as well. Well, I guess, people know how many steps lead to their house. It's just weird though. I don't know. I don't have steps, so I guess if I did, maybe I would know how many it was. I don't know.
That Gloria appears to have been moved after her fall, and that Maggie's tone, when asked about Gloria's age, seemed dismissive and imperious. Though the 911 call does not reveal a lot about what happened that morning, it is the first time a lot of people are hearing Maggie's and Paul's voices since their murders. We spoke to Eric Bland on Wednesday afternoon and asked him whether Gloria's family had listened to the 911 tape and how they felt about it. Here's what he had to say.
Obviously, the family's distressed in hearing the circumstances of how, their mother and sister were described being delirious and mumbling, and somebody had held her up and then let go and dropped her. And they were a little taken back by the lack of emotion, so to speak, with Maggie and Paul. They were really mad that Maggie appeared just to give the phone to Paul. She was so frustrated, she just gave the phone to Paul, and he took over talking. She described 8 steps, brick steps, and it happened the same way that Alex has described it, except they didn't mention the dogs, but it said she did fall on the exterior steps. And, there isn't anything that I can glean from it that I would consider to be suspicious, other than that, the lady was trying to do her job, and it appeared that Maggie and Paul were a little short-fused with her.
In the ongoing coverage of the Satterfield case, Gloria has been referred to as the Murdaugh's longtime housekeeper, which she was, in part. If there's one thing Gloria's family would want us all to know, it's that one word is never enough to fully capture who a person was, and that this word in particular, housekeeper, only describes one aspect of her professional life and personal relationship with the Murdaugh family, and certainly isn't a big enough word to describe who she was to those she loved most.
She was so much more. Everybody says, she was the housekeeper for the Murdaughs. I mean, housekeepers are people too. She loved her job. She was more than a housekeeper. She helped raise these children. She was very close with Paul. She worked with Mr. Buster and Miss Libby. She worked for Randy and John Marvin, raising kids, babysitting. She drove them around. She wasn't just a housekeeper. And that's what's getting lost in this. She was a real person, great sense of humor, wonderful sense of family, very religious. They took her on vacations at times. So that's what's got the family, that they were willing to talk, on Dateline and a Netflix special. She's so much more than a housekeeper, and it's just demeaning. And it's not, you're not to blame. It's just, she's known as just the Murdaugh's housekeeper. It's almost like calling her the Murdaugh's dog. It's
wow.
These are people that have families and raise, and make a living and make an important.
She was, Nikki, but I get what he's saying. Like, honestly, I do, because first of all, she was with them for like over 20 years. Okay. You don't have somebody in your house every day pretty much basically helped raising your kids for over 20 years. And I guess her title it would be like the housekeeper or the nanny or whatever. But when people pass away, the family is sensitive, and I guess them just referring to her as the housekeeper, and she was so much more than that. It could make people feel away.
She was
I get it though.
different. She was different. Medicine.
Well, yeah, Jeffrey did help raise little Nikki and stuff. Remember when they old ass mama had a baby? I guess, but I get it that the family's sensitive. So yeah, well, she definitely was more than the housekeeper.
Contribution to his family. She was so much more than a housekeeper.
Oh,
So
it's
while
different.
there are
Oh,
very
okay,
few
Nikki, I get it.
documents about
I
this
get it.
2019 incident at Moselle, a series of Facebook posts from Tony Satterfield, one of Gloria Satterfield's sons, sheds light on the extent of Gloria's injury.
Happy Friday, Miss Linda. Happy Friday, sweetie. Good to see you.
On February 2nd, 2018, Tony Satterfield posted the following on Facebook. So for those of you who don't know, my mom fell, hit her head pretty hard. She had to be flown out to Trident Medical and has a hematoma, a couple of broken ribs. She is responding, knew who I was, and even knew her social to give to the registration lady.
On February 3rd, Tony Satterfield said that Gloria was complaining of headaches and her hematoma had gotten better. Tony posted that his mother was going to have surgery on her ribs, which were cracked during the incident, and that surgery was scheduled for February 5th. While Tony posted that that surgery went well, things appeared to take a turn after that operation.
On February 7th, Tony wrote, "Update on my mom. Knocked out cold, will not wake up."
And in another post on February 7, 2018, Tony Satterfield wrote that his mother has stage 3 kidney disease, which did not help the situation. Over the next week, it sounded like her status improved slightly, but on February 20th, it seems like things went south really quick. Tony Satterfield posted it appeared that Gloria's heart had stopped and they had to do CPR.
In addition to giving us insight into how difficult those last few days were for Gloria and her family, Tony's posts tell us just how loved Gloria was. After a difficult day on February 20th, 2018, Tony reflected on how grateful he was that he and his mother had been able to say "I love you" to each other in the previous days. He was also thankful that his mother was able to see that he had a personal relationship with Jesus and that he got his dream job at Beaufort Memorial Hospital.
And just 5 days later, Tony Satterfield posted a tragic update. The family made the heart-wrenching decision to take Gloria off of the ventilator because the life that she was living was torture and it was no quality of life that she would want to live.
Gloria Satterfield, 57, died at Trident Medical Center in North Charleston on February 26, 2018. One of the questions that remains in the minds of those familiar with the medical care in the Low Country is this. Why was Gloria, a trauma patient with a head injury, taken to Trident Medical Center in Somerville? This isn't to cast aspersions on the staff at Trident. It's simply to acknowledge this. Is Trident the hospital where the Murdochs would have been taken if it were one of them who had received the head injury that day?
Good morning, Miss Charlene. Thank you for joining. Thank everybody for joining. I appreciate y'all. Can y'all please hit the like button if you don't mind, and feel free to support the channel. Okay, here we go, y'all.
Stunning to me. She was airlifted immediately. They took her to Cullen Hospital, and then she was airlifted, and she was airlifted to Trident in Somerville. And when you have a brain injury, that's usually an MUSC, or in this area, it would be directly to Prisma in Columbia. It's MUSC, and I don't know how she ended up in Trident in Somerville. I have no idea.
Fast forward Third, more than 3 years later, in September 2021, a new Hampton County coroner named Angela Topper requested that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, the same agency investigating the Murdaugh murders, open an investigation into Gloria Satterfield's death due to inconsistencies surrounding her death. Her death was not reported to the coroner at the time, nor did officials perform an autopsy, according to her death certificate.
Now, for those that don't know, this woman, she fell up 8 stairs, hit her head, sustained a very, very serious head injury and broke some ribs, right? After she passed, there was no autopsy. And on the initial death certificate, it stated she died from natural cause. What's natural about passing from falling up some stairs and hitting your head and breaking your ribs? Because y'all, listen, we all know natural causes would be something like, you know, maybe cancer or things of that. Yeah, that was weird. That was weird that they put on her initial death certificate that she died from natural causes. I don't know.
A couple things to note about Satterfield's death certificate. Her cause of death was listed as acute subdural hemorrhage, which is essentially a brain bleed. The manner of death was listed as natural. And so for an explainer, there are 5 manners of death: natural, accident, homicide, suicide, and undetermined. From what we know about Gloria's death, her brain bleed appeared to be caused by her injuries at Moselle,
Right.
which seem to be far from natural. The really weird part about her death certificate is where it says other significant conditions. It reads,
Coroner contacted? No. Date of injury? Not applicable. Location of injury? Not applicable. How the injury occurred? Not applicable. Autopsy performed? No. Time of injury? Not applicable. Autopsy available? Not applicable. Injury at work? Not applicable.
Gloria was injured at work in her last day living outside of a hospital. That is a fact. Why was her death certificate full of inconsistencies? And how on earth were Corey Fleming and Alec Murdaugh able to pull off a $3.6 million wrongful death settlement, claiming that
Yeah, nigga, did you hear all those questions? Let me play those questions again, cause that's weird. Let me play those questions again. That they put that.
Not applicable.
Hold on.
Autopsy performed.
and undetermined. From what we know about Gloria's death, her brain bleed appeared to be caused by her injuries at Moselle, which seem to be far from natural. The really weird part about her death certificate is where it says other significant conditions. It reads,
Coroner contacted? No. Date of injury? Not applicable. Location of injury? Not applicable. How the injury occurred? Not applicable. Autopsy performed? No. Time of injury? Not applicable. Autopsy available? Not applicable. Injury at work? Not applicable.
Gloria was injured at work in her last day living outside of a hospital. That is a fact. Why was her death certificate full of inconsistencies? And how on earth were Corey Fleming and Alec Murdaugh able to pull off a $3.6 million wrongful death settlement, claiming that she was injured in Hampton County when she was injured at Moselle, and claiming that she died from a trip and fall accident when her death certificate said she died from natural causes? Is that an example of how afraid of Hampton County insurance companies are? Or is something else going on there? Again, we have to ask ourselves, are the inconsistencies due to corruption or incompetence? Officials at the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division told us at Fitz News this week that the investigation into Gloria's death is active and ongoing. Our growing team at fitznews.com will continue to chip away at this case, and we will get answers to the many questions we all have in Gloria Satterfield's death. Stay tuned.
Okay, y'all, that's the end of what I think part 5. Okay. Ooh, excuse me, y'all. Let's get into part 6, okay? Oh shoot, why did I do that? Give me a second, y'all. We're gonna get into part 6 and we got plenty of time, okay? Yeah, Miss Gloria. Yeah, it's crazy, but all right, let me murder. Child, please, this is obvious murder. Well, the thing about it is, I think the woman was pushed. I mean, it's just too many things that happen afterwards that don't make sense. Let me see. That says part 5. Let's go to part 6. I still think it's pretty sad that it's taking so long for them to figure out what happened to this woman and Steven. I'm still upset about Steven. Honestly, I am. You know, they tried to convict him on his wife and son's murder pretty quickly, but anywho, I ain't gonna get into what I think is going on, but hey. Alright, let me part 6. Alright, here we go, y'all. Y'all please be sure to hit the like button and hit the cash app and support the channel.
I don't know who killed Stephen Smith, but I do know that
God.
gross incompetence.
I'm thinking about I got Steven all on my mind. Hold on, y'all. Who I done put in? Stephen Smith, y'all. That's pretty sad to me. Well, actually, both of them are, but what happened to? My thing is though, if she was pushed or any foul play was involved, I wonder who did it. People tend to think it was Maggie for some reason. That's the notion. Cause they think Paul would have never did anything to her. Satterfield. Okay. Hold on, y'all. I just heard a car door. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. Miss K McKay, right true. My heart goes out to Stephen Smith's mother. Yeah, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Like I just resonate with moms that lost their, um, I just hope and pray that they find out what happened to him soon. You know. All right, y'all. This is Murdoch's podcast. Get a mod to drop the link in the chat. What happened to Gloria Satterfield, part 6. I think this is the last part. Okay, y'all. All right, let's get into it. Mouse want to echo and stuff. Y'all ready for the weekend?
I don't know if anyone killed Gloria Satterfield.
Paul and the rest of them were all psychopaths. There's no loyalty in that state of mind. Oh wow. So basically what you're saying, Nikki, is that even though Paul was close to her, well, he was actually the closest. Thank you, Miss Gloria. He was actually the closest to her. It's possible that he could have did something as well. You know, you could be right. Thank you, Fancy. Thank you for supporting the channel, sweetheart. I absolutely appreciate you. Thank you. My question is, if the dog tripped her, would she feel? You know what? That's the thing. Charlene, I can't get over the fact that she fell forward on the steps. And then just like this lady's name is what is her name? Not heard this name 1,000 times. The woman that's conducting this podcast. Hey View, thanks for joining. The woman that's conducting this podcast. Like she said, you didn't hear the dogs in the background barking or nothing like that unless they had put the dogs up or whatever. But They never mentioned the dogs when they called the 911. They didn't say, oh, she tripped on the dogs or whatever. They just said she tripped and fell on the steps. I think he could have harmed her. Well, Nikki, from what we done heard about Paul, and since we've been covering this, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't. Did she fall back? No, she fell forward, Miss Gloria. She fell forward, supposedly tripping on the dog. Sorry, y'all, that's my alarm. Yeah.
But this week, we have received new information from the attorneys and insurance companies.
Thank you, Fancy, I'm looking at your picture. You're gorgeous, sweetheart. Thank you for supporting the channel. Getting in the shower. Okay, Candy. Okay, but okay.
That investigated her death. Not only do these new details raise more questions about what happened at Moselle that day of her alleged trip and fall, they highlight one of the major problems in this state: lawyers helping lawyers. My name is Mandy Matney. I have been investigating the Murdaugh family for more than 3 years now. This is the Murdaugh Murders Podcast with David Moses and Liz Farrell.
Fancy, I'm telling you, I think she was pushed. I think she was pushed up those stairs. That's what I feel. You're welcome, boo. I think she was pushed. I do, honestly. Good morning, You Talk Too Much. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it.
On Friday, May 13th, the Charleston Post and Courier published an opinion piece by the current and past presidents of the South Carolina Bar Association on behalf of the state's 13,000 actively practicing lawyers. The piece said that recent news stories and commentaries have presented an inaccurate picture of our attorneys, judges, and lawyer legislators. So the South Carolina Bar has been noticeably quiet since the details of Murdaugh's alleged legal malpractice started to emerge back in September. While we're happy that they've officially acknowledged that this case is in fact happening, we were left shaking our heads at the overall message on their opinion piece, which is basically, oh pish posh, goose feathers, hogwash, y'all need to move on. The piece is utterly dismissive, putting the blame on media because they think the issue is that we're not understanding the Murdaugh or Bowen Turner cases and how the system is supposed to work in each. They mention neither of these cases by name, by the way. They offer no specific examples of misrepresentations they say are occurring with the Murdaugh and Turner cases. Instead, they want us to simply trust them and trust the system. Trust that the system takes care of the not perfect attorneys, which this might be the most appalling part. Quote, attorneys and judges, like all human beings, aren't perfect. They say this as though we've been criticizing them for typos and not meeting deadlines and not life or death issues. They say this as if we're not showing them that this is a broken system, as if we're not telling them we're not okay with how this is working, as if we're not explicitly saying Alec Murdaugh and Bowen Turner would not have gotten where they were if the system worked the way that it's supposed to. And nowhere in this piece do these lawyers talk about solutions to the problems.
The ironic part of all this is that one of the writers of this opinion piece is Mary Sharp, who in 2010 was allegedly found intoxicated and lying on a sidewalk in Beaufort with her legs in the street. A passerby called the police to report this, and when a Beaufort police officer questioned Sharp, the woman who wrote this piece, dismissing the very valid criticism that has been raised about our legal system in South Carolina, who wants us to simply trust the system, she allegedly nudged the officer in the chest and kept saying, "Really?
Okay,
Really?
Miss Carla.
Come on, you're joking." Why would this police officer be joking? Well, one interpretation might be because Mary Sharp was and is a municipal judge in the same city where this man was a police officer. And why would she, a judge, be questioned by the police about something like this? Something that for anyone else would likely result in a ticket or worse, because Beaufort City is very serious about public drunkenness. On any given weekend, you can see the people who have been arrested on that single misdemeanor charge. People who had too much to drink on the waterfront and ended up having to pay for their behavior. But not this woman. After nudging the officer, which again would likely be termed assault if any other person had done that, Sharp, the one who wrote this Trust Us piece, walked away and called her boyfriend at the time, who is now her husband. His name is Ned Tupper. He was and still is a Beaufort municipal judge. He is also, incidentally, a lawyer who is a more recent addition to Greg Parker's legal team in the Mallory Beach cases. Sharp called Tupper, and that was the end of it. The Island Packet and the Beaufort Gazette wrote a series of stories and 2 editorials about this at the time, and they criticized Beaufort City Council for showing a complete lack of curiosity about the incident. The police department insisted that Sharp didn't use her influence and that she was granted no special favors by them. The only record of this incident was a dispatcher's report, apparently. So this was 12 years ago. Is it fair that we're bringing this up now? Absolutely, because it speaks to the mindset of these particular lawyers who wrote this opinion piece. One of the signers of this piece, by the way, is a former PMPED attorney. He left the firm before the firm's downfall, but nowhere in his bio on his new firm's page does he mention this connection. So I guess this quote-unquote transparency they all say they support means something different to them. That said, we know that not all lawyers are bad. We don't even like saying it that way because it's obvious. Most attorneys in this state are not Alec Murdaugh or Corey Fleming. But, and this is a big but, we have a system in which lawyers seem to look out for themselves first and each other second. It's called lawyers helping lawyers. They tend to take it easy on each other. And that's why we're here and why we're talking about this. In 2018, the Office of Disciplinary Counsel received 1,384 complaints about attorneys. At that time, they had 2 investigators, 8 lawyers, and no paralegals. This is just one tiny aspect of the broken system the state bar attorneys are defending in this opinion piece as fine and dandy. While we fully believe in the system that the bar attorneys are describing, however idyllic it might be, we think they're missing the point completely. The system we're saying is broken is the one that allows attorneys and judges in South Carolina to police themselves, that allows legislator attorneys to use their outsized power to influence cases just with their mere attachment to a case, and that allows legislators to choose our judges, effectively creating a dynamic in which some attorneys hold real influence over the judges in their cases. A friend of ours who is an attorney in South Carolina told us about the considerations that go into deciding whether to take a case. And a lot of those considerations have to do with who they know, who likes them, and which juries will be deciding the case. I don't remember those factors being in Mary Sharp's opinion piece. The system that our friend describes is called reality. The culture in South Carolina is ripe for corruption, and the corruption happens because of attorneys who pretend the problem doesn't exist and attorneys who are too afraid to stand up to those around them. Eric Bland is the system. Creighton Waters is the system, our friend told us, meaning attorneys like Eric, who represents the Satterfield family, and Creighton, who is the chief prosecutor on the Murdaugh cases, operate according to the oath they took and not according to South Carolina's iffy legal culture. There are many more attorneys like them in the state, but not enough in our opinion. Mary Sharp wants us all to believe that we in the media have it wrong and that you guys have it wrong when we all question that system. We want you to remember this in a moment because what we're about to show you is proof that we're not wrong and you're not wrong to think that this system is bananas.
So before this week, we never knew exactly how Alec Murdaugh and Corey Fleming were able to swing a multi-million-dollar settlement without a lawsuit in Gloria Satterfield's death. Our whole
Good
team
morning, Miss Virginia. Thanks for joining, sweetie.
at the Murdaugh Murders podcast and Fitz News has spent days pouring through every detail in these new documents that we found. And here is the main thing that we have discovered. This heist could have never taken place if every single South Carolina lawyer and judge involved were doing their jobs. If every single South Carolina officer of the court involved in the Gloria Satterfield case was doing their due diligence and serving their communities instead of serving themselves and their buddies, attorneys would have seen major red flags and they wouldn't have forked over millions of dollars to go who knows where after it went to Corey and Alec.
Let's pause here for a second because what we're about to share might get confusing. The Satterfield settlement involved two insurance companies. The first one was Lloyd's of London. This was Alec Murdaugh's regular insurance. We're going to call this Lloyd's of London or the underlying insurance. In December 2018, this company paid out the entire limits of Alec's policy, which was $505,000. The second insurance company was Nautilus. Now, this is important. Nautilus was a $5 million umbrella policy that Alec held. It was extra insurance. And Nautilus ultimately paid out $3.8 million in this case. Like Mandy said, this is a stunning amount of money, and many of our sources have repeatedly said they've seen nothing like it before. That said, Alec would not have been able to access any of his umbrella policy unless his underlying policy agreed to pay the full limits. So the easiest way to think about this is this. In order for Alec and Corey to get that $4.3 million, they had to make sure that Lloyd's of London agreed to pay out every penny, because when they did, well, then they'd hit the mother lode. First, we're going to talk about that second policy.
In April, Nautilus, again we're talking about the umbrella policy, filed a complaint in federal court regarding a subpoena they had received from a federal grand jury related to the Gloria Satterfield settlement. On Wednesday, May 11th, the same day our last podcast aired, Nautilus filed an amended complaint and is now suing Alec Murdaugh, Corey Fleming, Fleming's former law firm Moss & Kuhn, Chad Westendorf, and Palmetto State Bank. The lawsuit accuses Murdaugh and his accomplices of conspiracy to commit insurance fraud in the Gloria Satterfield case. The lawsuit is a doozy, and quite frankly, it's been a long time coming. Insurance fraud, like tax evasion, is a whole other chapter.
That case ain't gonna never get settled. There's too many people to blame and nobody wanting to take responsibility.
You think so?
Yep.
It's just,
she said it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been years. It's been a long time. It has.
And you can't get nothing from Alec, who's currently locked up and not making any income. Fleming, the other... You stop talking. The other law firm already cut ties with Fleming.
Don't do her. Yeah, Fleming been, I think at this point I know... I don't want to say for sure because I cannot remember. I think he was disbarred. And his law firm ended up paying some money, but at this point, it's just, to me, honestly, to give credence to what you said, is just, it runs too deep and there's too many people involved. But I guess they feel like they can get something out of somebody. Shit. It's just too much.
In this crazy saga, and will likely result in even more charges, but at the federal level, for Murdaugh and Company. Nautilus Insurance Company paid $3.8 million of a secret $4.3 million settlement that was reached on the behalf of Gloria Satterfield's family in 2019. As you know, that money never went to the Satterfield family. Now, ever since we first reported on the secret settlement and September, several attorney sources have told us that the settlement seemed unusually high. I can't tell you how many texts I got from attorney friends of mine who said things like, you should look into how they got that settlement. That seems like insurance fraud to me. The insurance angle is important because it shows the systemic issues we've been talking about that allowed an attorney like Alec Murdaugh to steal millions of dollars from his very vulnerable clients. And remember, the charges in the Satterfield case are what landed Murdaugh in jail back in October. For a reminder, Alec Murdaugh has been jailed at the Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center in Richland County, South Carolina, for more than 215 days now.
So back then, y'all, before he was actually charged and convicted with the murders of his wife and son, he was locked up. Sorry. He was locked up, y'all. He was locked up without bond due to the initial charges of that stem from him so-called plotting his own murder. And then with the charges that stem from this, they did lock him up and he was locked up. So, yeah.
Before we get into this lawsuit with the Gloria Satterfield settlement, I want to tell you about the complaint filed by Nautilus in late April. According to the complaint, Murdaugh made a claim under the policy involving Gloria Satterfield's death. Nautilus, according to the complaint, paid in excess of $75,000 for defense counsel to represent Murdaugh in the claim. Now let's stop and think about that for a second. This insurance company paid $75,000 to fight this claim, and they wound up paying out $3.8 million that ultimately went into the pockets of Corey Fleming, Alec Murdaugh, and Chad Westendorf.
I don't feel sorry for no insurance company either. For those that have been listening to me for years, I think insurance companies are the biggest. Like, I'm not going to say, I feel like insurance companies get a lot of free money. Now, they do play out some pretty big claims. But I just think about the fact of people who pay insurance for years, like years upon years upon years, never have to file a claim.
Like Alex. He said he was sick of that shit.
Well, damn, Alex just took it too far. Like, honestly, he took it too far, and it was fraud, Trey. He was charged with fraud. Okay. Now, I mean, I get it that I think an insurance company make a lot of free money, but you ain't supposed to fraud the insurance company.
But had he not had Fleming involved, it would have been a legitimate thing. So the insurance company still would have had to come out their money.
Well, no, actually, because Alec Murdaugh was not supposed to be involved with that whole insurance thing at all. He was the one being sued.
That's what I'm saying. It still would have been a legitimate claim, though. Had he just gave them the advice to sue him, it's still the insurance company still would have been out their money based off a legal thing that they got signed up for.
That's true. That's true. If they had just sued him and his insurance had paid off or whatever, but of course he couldn't do it that way. It's too much like right. Truth, I heard that like I ain't struck up. Well, you know what? I ain't struck up yet, Virginia, but yeah, you know. Remember Virginia, get out my business, Miss Virginia. You need one too. Girl, listen. Yeah, if he had to just, but see, the fact of the matter is, if they had to just filed, sued him if they had just sued him without him being involved, he wouldn't have got shit. The whole motive and the whole plan was for him to get the damn money. Which he did. He did. So, yeah. He's just crooked. Shit.
According to the complaint, Nautilus started to find out about the quote-unquote...
And why don't they put all the money you pay in an account for when you need... Girl. We ain't gonna get into what I feel about insurance companies. They are, It's just that you pay your premiums on time. You pay. But then it's like when you file claims, first of all, sometimes, depending on the claim, depending on the type of insurance you have, it's so hard to get claims filed. Now, I'm not gonna say that I had like bad incidences with insurance companies. I've had to file under, of course, medical. I've had to file under a car accident that Tony had some years ago. I've never had to file on a homeowner's insurance or anything like that, but they sometimes they can be a little, hellish when it comes to paying out. Let's just be clear. They get a lot of free money because a lot of times you pay into insurance, and they don't ever have to pay you anything. That's just facts.
Like car insurance.
Yeah, like car insurance, absolutely. Virginia State insurance companies are are rip-offs because you pay and pay, but when something happens, they do. Insurance companies would try to get out of paying a claim, like unless it's just dead set. It is what it is. They would try to get out of paying, and I don't get that.
Irregularities in the Gloria Satterfield case in July of 2021. July. Let's think about that for a second. That would be a month after the double homicide and a month after Fitz News broke the story connecting 3 other mysterious deaths, including Gloria's, to the Murdaugh family. So, did they have to read about the case in the media to figure out that something went wrong? Or were authorities already looking into the settlement in July? Remember, we recently found out that the grand jury was investigating Alec Murdaugh's finances before the double homicide in June.
Yep.
So it's possible that they were investigating the Satterfield case earlier than when SLED announced its investigation in September. I say this because it's important. It took so many different twists and turns and strange events in order to get Nautilus to even take a second look at this multi-million-dollar settlement, which should have raised so many red flags back in 2018. To no one's surprise, when Nautilus took a peek at the case back in July, they said they found several irregularities that looked a whole lot like insurance fraud. So a question we have is, why did they not file this lawsuit sooner? So according to the complaint, the heat really cranked up on Nautilus in February when federal agents served the insurance company a subpoena for their files in the case. It's nearly impossible to tell what's going on in a federal investigation until charges are filed, but it's reassuring to know that the feds are looking into insurance fraud for Alec Murdaugh, and this complaint confirmed it. Nautilus provided some documents to the federal grand jury, including notes and communications with counsel, according to the complaint. The complaint is basically saying, look, we tried to get the files, but it's interesting when you look at the emails they chose to show proof of their effort. I'm going to have David read these emails from Charleston attorney Drew Epting of Epting and Rannick, who is representing Nautilus, to Murdaugh's quote-unquote bulldog attorneys Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin.
Dear Dick, first of all, congratulations to you and your wife on the ambassadorship to Slovenia. What a beauty country and a rich culture. On more mundane matters, the U.S. Attorney's Office wants the file that you authorized be released to the Office of Disciplinary Counsel. I have inquired several times about it and asked that your client, Mr. Murdaugh, waive whatever, if any, privilege.
Good morning, Scorpio. Happy Friday, sweetheart. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you.
He may have in the materials previously provided to you. I am wearing out the patience of the U.S. Attorney's Office with my continued refrain of, I do not think producing the file will be a problem.
The next day, Harpootlian wrote back,
let me check with Jim.
And about an hour later, Jim Griffin wrote,
Drew, We cannot consent on behalf of Alec waive any privilege he may have pertaining to these files so that they can be used in a criminal investigation against him.
Epstein responded,
Understood, and will advise USA. Will you prepare a log as many of these documents do not contain privileged material?
We wouldn't expect Dick or Jim to hand over documents that could incriminate their client, obviously. But again, what we see here is a dance. One lawyer is being paid to get information from other lawyers about another lawyer. This might be how it's done, but to outsiders, it looks polite to a fault. Like, hey, can I have those documents? No? Cool. Didn't think so. Slovenia, though, am I right?
and we'll be right back. Okay, so a couple weeks after that complaint was filed, Nautilus amended their complaint. The lawsuit, as well as the Lloyd's of London documents obtained by FitzNews this week, provide new details about what happened in the days before and after Gloria Satterfield's mysterious death.
Here are the biggest takeaways in Nautilus's amended complaint. First, they call Alec a liar for saying the dogs made Gloria trip. They flat out say that Alec's account of how he discovered that it was the dogs simply didn't happen. We're not sure how they know this for certain, but they don't mince.
Now, mind you, I'm not sure why she's not talking about it right here. Maybe she will, but Alex Murdaugh told authorities that Gloria literally told him herself before being taken away from the property that she had tripped on the dog. But supposedly he was not there when it happened. Okay. But according to Maggie and Paul, she was really not able to speak like that. She was mumbling. So she really wasn't coherent or anything like that. But according to Alex, Miss Gloria told him straight up that the dog, she fell because the dogs tripped her. They're not believing that story.
Words. And frankly, we get it. And you'll get it too. Alec is the only one, other than maybe Paul, who allegedly heard Gloria, someone who, by Paul's and Maggie's accounts, couldn't form words at that time, say that it was a dog responsible for her fall. We'll talk more about all this in a bit, because his account is so cartoonish and so suspicious that it is unbelievable Nautilus relied on it in its decision to pay out millions of dollars. Which brings me to the second takeaway. The lawsuit says Alec bullied the adjuster by threatening to file a bad faith case against Nautilus. This is important, and we'll revisit it as we talk about the Lloyd's of London documents obtained by FitzNews. When you consider both depictions from the insurance companies of Alec's threats and his influence over the Hampton County juries, it sounds like they're talking about a mafia boss or a drug kingpin. And it's like they just accepted that this was reality. They talk about this guy like they're negotiating the dismantling of a bomb. The next takeaway is that Alec's rendition of what happened to Gloria is so carefully crafted that it would not be a stretch to wonder if this was the play the whole time. If he had his own insurance money on his mind from the beginning. He tells the insurance adjusters that Gloria was at his house that day, not to work. No. She was there to simply pick up a check for work performed for, quote, someone else. Why this weird detail? Because according to the Nautilus suit, Alec was trying to avoid a workers' compensation defense.
Wow.
The last takeaway is this. Between the details laid out in the lawsuit and the Lloyd's of London documents, there were so many inconsistencies and easy to disprove narratives. Had someone just said, enough is enough, this is weird, we're done being bullied by Hampton County lawyers. Because guess who pays for these outsized insurance payments that seem to have been negotiated at imaginary gunpoint? You do. Now we're going to walk you through every detail involving Gloria Satterfield's death, which were revealed in these documents. FitzNews received the two documents showing what led to Lloyd's of London's decision to pay out the full limits of Alec Murdaugh's policy. Remember what we said earlier. This had to happen in order for the Nautilus money to become available. This is complex and can be hard to track, so here's what you need to know right now. First is the timeline. Just over a week after Gloria died at the end of February 2018, Corey Fleming sent Alec Murdaugh a letter of intent to sue. Immediately, they kicked into action. By May 24th, Alec had his assistant send a letter to Gloria's healthcare provider, quibbling over and I cannot make this up, a $13.65 charge that the provider wanted to collect for providing them with Gloria's records. The assistant tells the provider, we'll pay $6.50, okay? And also, you have 30 days to provide this information. Apparently, Gloria's son had tried to get the information to no avail, so PMPED sent a fax on May 7th trying to help get this expedited. Remember, this is not Alec's case.
Right.
So why are we mentioning this? Because it's one of many details that shows how ridiculous the situation is and how fast it seems Alec and Corey were trying to make this money happen for them. So one, the statute of limitations in South Carolina for a case like this is 3 years. From what several sources have told Fitz News, Alec Murdaugh often ran up against those limits in other cases. We have also been told that he might have missed a few of those deadlines in other cases, but not this one. They sprinted right out of the gate with this one. On October 30th, 2018, Corey sent a policy limits demand to Lloyd's of London, giving them a November 12th deadline. If they didn't have a satisfactory settlement offer by November 12th, then they would sue for damages in excess of the policy limits. Lloyd's of London tried to get this deadline extended by a week, and Corey ultimately declined. Lloyd's of London was represented by T. David Reaney of the Gallivan, White and Boyd law firm, the same law firm of John T. Lay, who is one of the co-receivers combing through Alec's finances in the Mallory Beach case. So on November 12th, 2018, Rainey sent a letter to Nautilus explaining how they ended up deciding to settle for the full amount of the Lloyd's in London policy, noting that in exchange for paying out the policy limits, Corey told Lloyd's that his clients would be willing to defer filing a lawsuit against the Murdaughs so they could then negotiate with Nautilus. Basically, it seems like he is saying to Lloyd's, give us the money by November 12th or we'll sue you and it won't be pretty. And Lloyd's is saying to Nautilus, look, we're going to have to agree to these terms. Leading up to this, the lawyer hired by Lloyd's of London to represent Alec Murdaugh, remember, Alec is supposed to be on the same side as these guys, put together 2 reports outlining the case for Lloyd's. That lawyer's name is Scott Wallinger. And Fitz News obtained a copy of the second report he put together, which is dated November 6th, 2018. And this report is truly unbelievable. If it could be summed up by a line in a movie, it would be, pay the money, Lloyd's, pay it now and no one gets hurt. Because Alec has admitted fault, it is really hard to remember that this is Alec's attorney defending him in a wrongful death claim. Wallinger's report outlines so many new details of what allegedly happened on February 2nd, 2018. And something interesting that we noticed, a lot of this report appears to be almost solely based on Alec's account. Nowhere does it say that he talked to Gloria's family. According to this report, it doesn't seem like he put much effort at all in defending Alec.
Cam. Good morning. Happy Friday, Cam. It's the weekend, baby. Y'all hit the like button. Please hit the like button and feel free to hit the Cash App and support the channel. We're almost done with this. Well, damn, not really. Almost. All right, y'all. We got like 30 more minutes and then we're out of here until later.
Alec against having to pay out this claim. Among the most shocking of the new revelations, the report said that an insurance claim was filed for a car accident that Gloria was in on February 1st, 2018, the day before Gloria allegedly fell. Now, according to the report, Satterfield's vehicle struck a parked car. The report said,
we do not have details about that event yet, and Mr. Murdaugh was not aware of it until I mentioned it. He believes that would have been a low-impact accident, else Ms. Satterfield would have mentioned it to him and would have called him for legal guidance.
So why wasn't that mentioned before? It makes us wonder if Gloria had a stroke or some kind of medical issue at the time that maybe caused both the car accident and the fall. You would think that an insurance company would want to investigate this car accident further to see exactly what happened. you would think the insurance company that is trying to get out of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars wouldn't just mention that and casually move on. Wallinger's report also mentioned some details about Gloria's employment with the Murdaugh family. The report said that Gloria Satterfield worked for the family for 20 years as a housekeeper and personal assistant to Alec Murdaugh's mother and Alec and Maggie. We have never heard before that Gloria worked as a personal assistant of any kind, and we've never heard that he worked for Alec Murdaugh's mother, and we thought that that was weird that it was mentioned. The report went on to say,
there was no written employment agreement, and Satterfield could be considered an at-will independent contractor of Mr. and Mrs. Murdaugh. The Murdaughs paid Satterfield $10 per hour. Satterfield was not considered a full-time employee of the Murdaugh.
Wait a minute. Please don't tell me this lady worked for these people for over 20 years and was being paid $10 an hour? Y'all know that shit. No. Mm-mm. No, ma'am.
And no taxes were deducted from her paycheck. Satterfield would do household chores, babysitting of their children, run errands, and act as a server at parties hosted by the Murdaughs. Satterfield spent considerable time with the Murdaugh family and, as is common in South Carolina, was considered, quote, part of the family in a loose sense.
Even back in 2019, when Mandy
Miss Gloria, she was white. She was an older white woman. She was not black. Do I have a picture? Hold on. I got a picture, I think. Hold on. Let me make sure. Oh my God. I can't believe somebody worked for somebody for over 20 years and getting paid $10 an hour. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. Okay?
Little about this case. We saw Gloria's obituary and saw that it had said that she was considered to be part of the Murdaugh family. That is one of the main reasons we're like, something isn't right here. Guess what they paid their family member to clean up after them? $10 an hour. Now, that is above minimum wage and possibly a good hourly rate for Hampton County, where there is widespread poverty. But remember, this quote-unquote member of the Murdaugh family was left homeless several times. Yeah. Conversely, and we do not like pointing this out.
That's another thing, y'all. That's another thing. This woman worked for these people for all those years, and from a previous live that we conducted, they said that she was homeless several times while working for them. Yes.
His life was invaluable, but a $4.3 million settlement was reached, which in part considers the potential earnings that Gloria, who was 57, would have made over her lifetime had she continued to live. $10 an hour puts that into perspective.
But also, some of this document included information we know is wrong. For instance, the report said that Satterfield did not work for anybody else besides the Murdaughs, but we know that Gloria worked for at least one other family. The report also stated that Gloria's son is an RN, which he is not, nor has he ever been, according to Eric Bland. He did work at the hospital, but he was never a registered nurse, which makes us wonder, did Wallinger just take Alec at his word? It wouldn't be the first time an attorney did that. But perhaps the most important part of this report is that Wallinger interviewed Maggie, Paul, and Alec about what happened on February 2nd, 2018 at Moselle. Alec told Wallinger he had left the house that morning at about 7:45 to go to work at
Okay, so listen, y'all. Right here is what she details what Alec Murdaugh was supposed to be when all of this happened, okay? So this is good.
$10 an hour puts that into perspective.
But also, some of this document included information we know is wrong. For instance, the report said that Satterfield did not work for anybody else besides the Murdaughs, but we know that Gloria...
Well, that's a lie, because they said, to get out of the workman's comp claim, they said that when she came there on that Friday morning at 9 a.m., blah, 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 she was not actually reporting to work. She was there to pick up a check for some work that she had done for another family. So that's a lie.
Worked for at least one other family. The report also stated that Gloria's son is an RN, which he is not, nor has he ever been, according to Eric Bland. He did work at the hospital, but he was never a registered nurse, which makes us wonder, did Wallinger just take Alec at his word? It wouldn't be the first time an attorney did that. But perhaps the most important part of this report is that
Shout out to Miss Virginia. Thank you, Miss Virginia. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, sweetheart, for supporting the channel. I appreciate it. I got you. All right, y'all. Let's listen. This is crazy. Y'all hit the like button, okay? If you don't mind. And feel free to support the channel.
Wallinger interviewed Maggie, Paul, and Alec about what happened on February 2nd, 2018 at Moselle. Alec told Wallinger he had left the house that morning at about 7:45 to go to work at PMPED in Hampton. This is new. We have never heard anything about whether or not Alec was at Moselle when the incident occurred. Sometime after Alec left, he claims that Gloria apparently drove alone to Moselle to see Maggie and to pick up a check. This was not questioned by Wallinger in his investigative report. However, Nautilus, the other insurance company, claims that Gloria was there to collect a check for work performed for someone else, thus avoiding a workers' compensation defense. Which is it? This is one of many contradictions. According to Wallinger's report, Maggie said she was in bed asleep at the time Gloria fell, which would have been likely sometime after 9 a.m. She said her son Paul was asleep in his bedroom. Maggie said she expected Gloria to arrive at the house at some point that day. According to Maggie, their chocolate lab Bourbon, who she described as just horrible, seeking attention, and always whining, just had been picked up from obedience training a few days before. Maggie said their 4 dogs, Bubba, Bourbon, Blue, and Sassy, were roaming free. The dogs' photos were blacked out of the report, by the way. Maggie said that 2 of their employees, Ronnie Freeman and Travis Martin, were on the property working at the time, but were not near the house when Gloria got there. The report doesn't say whether either man
that's another thing, y'all. That's another thing that I don't think has been stressed. There, on the morning that this happened, y'all, there were workers on the property. There were people. They had like, you know, we y'all heard about in this particular live about the person that was on the 4-wheeler that was at the gate waiting on the ambulance to show up. They were there. There were other people on this property, y'all, that were there when all of this supposed to have happened. Now, I get it that it's a huge property. I mean, it's huge and it's beautiful. But there were other people there, you know what I'm saying, when all of this took place. So, yeah.
Been interviewed in the investigation. Maggie said that she suddenly heard the dogs barking in an unusual tone that morning, which alerted her to go outside. She said she went out the front door and found Satterfield lying on her back, head toward the bottom of the steps with a bleeding.
You ain't find her on her back. You did not find her on her back if she fell forward. Wait a minute. Forward. No. Hold on.
Maggie said she expected Gloria to arrive at the house at some point that day. According to Maggie, their chocolate lab Bourbon, who she described as just horrible, seeking attention, and always whining, just had been picked up from obedience training a few days before. Maggie said their 4 dogs, Bubba, Bourbon, Blue, and Sassy, were roaming free. The dogs' photos were blacked out of the report, by the way. Maggie said that 2 of their employees, Ronnie Freeman and Travis Martin, were on the property working at the time, but were not near the house when Gloria got there. The report doesn't say whether either man had been interviewed in the investigation. Maggie said that she suddenly heard the dogs barking in an unusual tone that morning, which alerted her to go outside. She said she went out the front door and found Satterfield lying on her back, head toward the bottom of the steps, with a bleeding head wound. Satterfield's eyes were open. She was conscious and mumbling gibberish, apparently. According to Maggie, Satterfield did not know what happened, and Maggie shouted, "Oh my God," when she saw her. Maggie called 911 around 9:24 a.m.
9:24 a.m., 38 seconds, February 2, 2018.
Good. 911, where's your emergency?
4147 Moselle Road.
Okay, can you give me the address one more time, make sure I got it right?
Yes, 4147 Moselle Road.
Okay, what's going on out there?
I'm sorry?
What's going on out there?
My housekeeper has fallen and her head is bleeding. I cannot get her up.
Okay, you said she's fallen. She's bleeding from the head?
Yes,
How old is she?
I'm not sure, like 58 maybe.
Gloria was 57 at the time. Maggie's voice is very matter-of-fact in this scenario, which sources have told us was normal for Maggie, who was calm and pragmatic in situations like this. We're not going to play the whole 911 call, but just parts of it that are relevant.
Do you know if she fell from standing or not?
No.
Where'd she fall from?
She's still going up the steps, up the brick steps.
Okay, so she outside or inside?
Outside.
Okay. How many steps is there?
8.
Okay, is she on the ground or is she up near the
She's
top?
on the ground. She's on the ground. She's on the
Is she
ground.
conscious?
No, not really.
Is she awake at all?
Yes.
Okay.
It's important to note that in Maggie's interview with Wallinger, she said that Gloria's eyes were open, that she was conscious, and she was mumbling gibberish, which matches up with the 911 call.
Is she just not like responding appropriately, but she is awake?
Man, she's not responding.
Okay, I've already got them on the way. Me asking questions does not slow them down, man. Knowing if she's conscious is one of the things that the medic needs to know if she's responding at all to you.
No.
Scorpio, this is the thing. Maggie made the initial call. She never said anything about the dogs or her tripping over the dogs. Paul then came in on the call. He never mentioned anything about the dogs or tripping over the dogs. Later on, Alec, who was supposedly not at the house when it happened, but showed up later, said that Miss Gloria, who Paul and Maggie had stated was not really speaking, like she was mumbling, but she wasn't really speaking. Alec claimed that Miss Gloria told him that she tripped over the dog. So, fast forward, Miss Gloria is in the hospital. She's in and out. Speaking with the nurses or whatever, the staff at the hospital, and she never mentioned to anybody that she had tripped over the dog. So basically, I think the only one that supposedly heard her say she tripped over the dogs was Alec. And we all know what Alec is. A liar. Right, Miss Gloria? Right.
She's not responsive at all.
Well, I mean, she's mumbling.
Okay, so she is somewhat conscious. Is she breathing okay?
Yes.
Is she bleeding from anywhere?
Yes, her head.
Hey, are you guys able to control the bleeding?
Maggie said that no one rendered first aid before EMS arrived, which also lines up with the 911 call. But what's odd is that there is no mention of the dogs in the 911 call, nor can you hear any barking from these apparently rambunctious dogs in the backyard, which is interesting because in the report, Maggie said that she saw these dogs around Gloria when she was outside. During the call, Maggie said that Gloria fell back down.
Oh, geez. What happened?
She just fell back down. Can I get off this phone?
Yeah, they never mentioned during the call. What you doing? What you doing?
My cereal's not. I want fly cereal.
You want what?
I want fly cereal. My cereal's.
Oh, okay. They never mentioned during the call, the 911 call. When I say they, I mean Paul and Maggie. They never mentioned that she's tried to stand up or she was trying to get up, but they did mention that she had fell back down, which is weird because, like I say, they were saying that she was in and out, couldn't talk or whatever, but yet she supposedly tried to get up. Paul said that he tried to help her up or hold her up, and she said, "Let me go," which is weird.
Can I have your name and phone number? Or are you able to bring the phone down by her?
What?
Are you on a cell phone where you can walk down there and talk?
Cell phone.
Okay, can you bring it with you so we can ask her some questions about what kind of pain she's having?
So, according to his interview with Wallinger, Paul was asleep in his downstairs bedroom at the time of the incident. Paul told Wallinger he heard dogs barking and then heard his mother call to him, and he knew something was wrong. He said that Satterfield's feet were on the second or third step from the bottom and she was lying on her back. He said that she was bleeding from her head wound and blood was on the brick landing. He said that Satterfield was awake, making weird noises, and not making any sense.
Hello?
Yeah, can you ask the patient what kind of pain she's having?
No, she can't talk.
Okay, do you know?
She's cracked her head and there's blood on the concrete and she bleeds out of her left ear.
Okay, she's bleeding out of her ear.
And out of her head, she's cracked her skull.
Okay. All right, the other lady said that she had tried to stand up and fell down again.
No, I was holding her up. And
Okay.
she told me to turn her loose and she was trying to get her on, but then she fell back over.
So Paul says here that he tried to get Gloria to sit up, and either Maggie or Gloria, we don't know, said apparently to turn her loose, whatever that means. Apparently,
I don't think Gloria said that. I don't think Gloria said turn me loose or whatever. Now Maggie might have told Paul to turn her loose. Y'all, this is crazy. This is crazy. Right, Miss Virginia? Right. I just don't believe that shit. Like, this woman is in distress. She just hit her head. She done hit her head. According to Paul, her skull is cracked. She's bleeding. She's got broken ribs. Like, why would that woman say, turn me? No.
Gloria fell back over. In that same breath, Paul is saying that Gloria had cracked her head open, was bleeding from her ears and skull, and could not talk. Remember that. So according to Paul's interview and the report, Alec, who claimed that Maggie had called him around 9:45 at work, claims that he left work immediately and was able to get there before EMS. There are two issues with that one. The EMS report indicates that they arrived at Moselle at 9:41. Also, we did a quick Google search on this and found that if Alec was at PMPED when he allegedly got this call, it would have taken him around 18 or 20 minutes to reach Moselle. In the meantime, the EMTs, according to the dispatcher, were coming from a station about 15 minutes away at normal speed, and we can assume that they were driving a lot faster than that. How was Alec able to get there before EMS? Great question. Another question might be, was he already there? Given the inconsistencies in the nature of this case, we have to ask that question. Alec and Paul have different accounts of how Gloria was positioned when Alec arrived. This could be important, so listen carefully. According to his interview with Wallinger, Paul said that Satterfield started throwing up, and Alec and Paul sat her up while they waited for EMS to arrive.
Now, that would be easy to prove, because if she was vomiting, there would have been vomit, on the steps and things of that nature when the EMS, showed up. See, all this shit just ain't making sense to me. It's just not. It's just not.
But according to Alec, when he arrived at Moselle, he found Gloria sitting on the brick landing at the base of the steps.
Oh, hell.
Maybe.
Miss K said, true. Do you think that Gloria and Maggie may have gotten into an altercation, which is why Paul? Yeah, Miss K, Miss K, listen. I think that God rest her soul. I'm sorry, but what I think is that Miss Gloria and I'm finna say K. Miss Gloria and Maggie got into it, y'all. I think Miss Gloria and Maggie got into it. I think Maggie had something to do with it. I do. I do. That's just my opinion.
Maybe this is nothing, but remember during the 911 call when Paul said that he had just sat Gloria up and that's when she fell back down? Is it possible that Alec was actually there at the time the 911 call was placed? And that's not the only strange thing here. Alec, Maggie, and Paul all describe Gloria's cognitive abilities after the fall, and they all slightly differ. But remember, the devil's in the details. Maggie said that Gloria was able to tell EMS her name, but then said that the current president was Bill Clinton. Paul said that Gloria was awake, making weird noises, and not making any sense. Paul told Wallinger he remembers Alec asking Gloria what happened, and Satterfield said something about the dogs. But just moments before, remember, Paul said that Gloria couldn't talk. And yet, Alec described Gloria as semi-conscious and sitting, not laying, and, quote, indicated something to him about the dogs tripped her up. The report even notes that Satterfield made no other statement to any witness about the involvement of any dogs. The report says,
Y'all know what I really hate. I really hate that this woman cannot speak. Well, I don't know if she could not speak or would not speak. Like once she went to the hospital or once she got with the EMS people. I really, really, really wish she had told these people what happened to her. Right? I don't think she fell. I don't think she tripped over dogs. I think she yeah, I think she was pushed. Cause listen, I'm not gonna act like it's not possible for somebody to fall up some stairs, depending on the situation or the circumstances. Scorpio said, I actually think that Alex did it. Okay, and that's why they went on to Glory show, and that's why they went on to Glory afterwards. Alex was high, and they had an argument. Maggie threatened to tell, and Alex got rid of the witnesses. But actually, Scorpio, Paul and Maggie didn't. He didn't kill them until like 3 years later. So I don't know, maybe, but he actually didn't kill them till like 3 years later. Miss Gloria had been dead for like 3 years, but I honestly don't think this woman fell. I don't think she tripped over dogs. I think she was pushed, and the reason why I say that is because of the severity of her injuries, as far as the head wound and the ribs. You know what I'm saying? Now, we're not gonna pretend like it's not possible to fall upstairs. It's definitely possible, especially if you're drunk or things of that nature. But it's just not. It's just not like. And then too, if you are walking upstairs and you trip and maybe are gonna fall up them stairs, the first instinct to me would be to try to stop your fall, like extend your hands and try to stop your fall. And maybe that'll like weaken the fall. She fell pretty hard, y'all. Scorpio, one of the workers said, yep, they did say he wasn't there. Wait, she fell up the stairs. Yep. Okay, let's listen.
Reference in any medical record of how and why Satterfield fell, only that she fell from standing height down a few stairs. There is no reference to dogs causing her fall. The admitting emergency doctor's note states she does not know why she fell.
Maggie and Alec both told Wallinger that they heard Satterfield's relatives say that the dogs tripped Gloria up. This is weird because one, Neither one of them could say which relative said that, and Wallinger never bothered to interview any one of Gloria's family members. Instead, he wrote a summary of Tony Satterfield's Facebook post, which we read in a previous episode. So on both the 911 call and their statements, Paul and Maggie said Gloria wasn't making sense, was hardly conscious, and was in really bad shape. Yet Alec, who appears to be a master manipulator, claims that when he magically arrived at the scene before EMS, Gloria was sitting up and suddenly speaking in words that did make sense, and she happened to blame the incident on something that would fall under his homeowner's insurance policy. Interesting. Now, this Lloyd's of London investigation also provided new details of Gloria's medical records from both.
No fancy. She was walking up the stairs and fell up the stairs. She did not fall down. She fell up the stairs.
Care flight reports and the Trident hospital records. We should note that Wallinger makes a point to say that Corey Fleming did not provide some of the records he had requested, including Colleton County EMS records. This is interesting because in all of this time, only a single page of the 8-page EMS report has been seen, from what we understand. What happened to the other 7 pages? And why would Corey hold that back? It also appears that Corey Fleming failed to produce other important medical records, including her personal physician's records, records from earlier and unrelated treatments at local hospitals, and pharmacy records. Didn't these attorneys have the right to subpoena for these records themselves? According to Wallinger's report, Gloria had significant history of chronic kidney disease and high blood sugar. She also had low sodium levels in her blood. He wrote in his report that hyponatremia can...
Hey, Value, thanks for joining. The bushes just got off work. Oh, okay, sweetie, thank you. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Y'all hit that like button for your girl. Let me see what my likes looking like. Let me see if y'all liking this, okay? Let's see. Oh yeah, got 64 likes. Thank y'all. Appreciate that. I appreciate it. Feel free to hit the cash app, support the channel, okay? Well, damn. That's the first for me. Never heard of fall. Yeah, it happens, fancy. I ain't gonna lie. Hell, I don't still. I don't like stumbled over a stair or two going up. I ain't gonna lie, but not to the extent of a deadly head injury and broken ribs. No, ma'am. Because your first instinct, if you follow upstairs, to extend your hands and your arms or whatever to break the fall. That's just what I think. You know.
Conceivably could.
Gloria said, I don't think she could have gotten that much damage. That's what I'm saying, Miss Gloria. Unless it was forced. Put that down, baby. Unless it was forced and she was pushed. Now that's possible. You know, pushed from behind.
It had been a cause of Satterfield's fall. According to the report, Gloria's injuries included a right-sided head laceration, a right-sided subdural hematoma, a traumatic brain injury, multiple left-side posterior rib fractures, a partially collapsed lung, and a pulmonary contusion. I'll have David read this part of the report.
Hold on. Let me go back. Oh my gosh. No. Hold on, y'all.
Records, including her personal physician's records, records from earlier and unrelated treatments at local hospitals, and pharmacy records. Didn't these attorneys have the right to subpoena for these records themselves? According to Wallinger's report, Gloria had significant history of chronic kidney disease and high blood sugar. She also had low sodium levels in her blood. He wrote in his report...
I don't know. I've tripped upstairs before, but I usually extend my hands and they brace me. I think someone actually pushed her leg while she... Oh, pulled her leg. Pulled her leg. Listen to the injuries, y'all. Listen.
Report that hyponatremia conceivably could have been a cause of Satterfield's fall. According to the report, Gloria's injuries included a right-sided head laceration, a right-sided subdural hematoma, a traumatic brain injury, multiple left-side posterior rib fractures, a partially collapsed lung, and a pulmonary contusion. I'll have David.
Listen. You don't get those injuries from a fall. That woman was beat. Oh, y'all, that sounds like a beating. Hold on a minute, y'all. Hold on.
Why you say truth? Truth, you'd have walked off again.
You know what? Don't even say that. Just shut up.
I'm being super dad, ma'am. You heard her say truth.
This woman was beat up, y'all. She was beat up. This is crazy. Trey, did you hear the injuries? He ain't listening, y'all.
I'm still stuck at she tripped up the steps, but Maggie found the land on her back.
Okay, well that's at the beginning. Can you do me a favor?
I'm saying
I
my
know
brain
Spider Girl. I know Spider Girl got you tied up. But listen to these injuries, Trey, from a simple falling up. Oh shit! I don't want to go too far back. Hold on, y'all. Can you listen to these? What the hell? Listen to these
she
injuries.
had bruised ribs and stuff too.
I know bruised ribs. Happened? Listen. Hold on. Just listen to the injuries right quick for me.
Treatments at local hospitals and pharmacy records. Didn't these attorneys have the right to subpoena for these records themselves? According to Wallinger's report, Gloria had significant history of chronic kidney disease and high blood sugar. She also had low sodium levels in her blood. He wrote in his report that hyponatremia conceivably could have been a cause of Satterfield's fall. According to the report, Gloria's injuries included a right-sided head laceration, a right-sided subdural hematoma, a traumatic brain injury, multiple left-side posterior rib fractures, a partially collapsed lung, and a pulmonary contusion. I'll have David.
You heard that? Oh God.
I did, but I'm still miffed at the way her falling forward and being found on her back. But I agree. She got to fighting with somebody.
I think she was fighting with somebody.
I think her and Maggie got them a 1-on-1.
I think it was Maggie too. Tracy was walking backwards up the stairs. Fancy, ain't no way. Like honestly, okay, y'all, let's listen. I gotta get out because I think Sis is going live after me.
Read this part of the report because it's important.
Basically, she had several severe injuries being managed, which together created a greater risk of a downward decline. After a few days, she was moved out of the ICU. She appeared by nurse observation to be doing better, then she declined, and was returning to the ICU and eventually placed on a ventilator. She developed a pneumonia of unknown origin. Although doctors were aware of sinusitis, they never diagnosed the source of pneumonia. She developed fluid in her lungs and had a heart attack and coded. She appears to have sustained anoxic brain injury and went into a deep coma. Her brain activity was evaluated by EEG, and the family was told she had a slim chance of survival.
Gloria died on February 26, 2018, after it was clear her life could no longer be saved. Alec never once visited Gloria in the hospital. And we'll be right back.
Hold on a minute. Let's see.
This is.
I thought they said he went to the hospital at least one time.
Supposedly he talked to her before she was taken away, but it never said anything about him going to the hospital. Miss K said, "Now I'm thinking that whoever Gloria got into it with, maybe Paul jumped in and helped beat her up." Wow. Thank you, E. Bruce. Thanks for dropping that link, sweetie. She already scheduled it. Okay. All right. Let's get through,
Yeah,
y'all. Let's see.
10:45.
Okay. All right. So let's listen, y'all. No, he never visited her at the hospital, Trey.
This is where we should point out the obvious. Think about all of your experiences with insurance companies trying to get legitimate claims fairly paid. Think about how different those experiences are. Think about how rigorous the questioning is and the investigations are. They look for the tiniest of reasons not to cover incidents, right? If Gloria had fallen in any other location, in any other part of this country, it would have been, oh, she had a Band-Aid on her knee when she fell down the stairs? Obviously, we need to look at what was under the Band-Aid and conduct an analysis on whether that boo-boo contributed to her fall before the dogs came. Likely, there would have been a battle. Not only would all of our experiences be vastly different from what happened here, we are paying for this. Our premiums are affected by payouts like these. Insurance companies' willingness to pay claims are affected by payouts like these. And in Hampton County, by the way, yes, Alec Murdaugh and PMPED have made a lot of people a lot of money, but everyone there is paying for that in the form of higher insurance rates. Clearly, we understand that it might actually have been in Lloyd's of London's best interest to pay out the maximum amount of its policy. We also have to acknowledge that we have only seen these two pieces of correspondence in connection to whatever led to Lloyd's of London's final decision on the settlement. There's just one little wisp of hesitation on Wallinger's part, expressed in 2 sentences toward the end of the report.
I would characterize liability based on what is known at this point as probable, but not clear and convincing. I think a medical review to verify.
This is naturally knowledge. Okay. Thanks for joining the chat, sweetie. I think so too. I think she was beat up, y'all. And I'm just saying, like, those injuries, like, honestly. Because.
Verify Satterfield did not fall from a medical symptom would be very useful.
You think? So
Wait a minute. Do you think that's why Paul and the wife was offed? Because they knew what really happened to Gloria?
Huh?
You think that's why they was offed because they knew what happened to the lady?
Well, I think somebody said that in the chat, but this is the thing. Okay, that could be true, but he didn't kill them until 3 years later.
Around the time the insurance people stuff was coming down on them.
Well, yeah, true, but
and they actually knew what happened. They done found out Daddy might have stole the money. They could have told on them.
Yeah, but I don't know. So Trey, who do you? Oh, you say Maggie. You say you think her and Maggie got into an altercation. Okay.
November 6th, 2018. That's a week after Corey sent his threat and less than a week before Corey's deadline. When did they think this medical review was going to happen? When were they going to have time to question the facts? It's like tick, 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 tick. The bomb is about to go off. Alec Murdaugh is going to use his jury power to blow us all up. Check out this part of the report.
Venue of any filed lawsuit is a key issue. If suit were to be filed, it may be filed in Colleton County, where the incident and Satterfield's injury occurred, or in Hampton County, where the Murdaughs reside. It is highly likely we could get a suit venue transferred from Colleton County to Hampton County. Both of these counties sit within the 14th Judicial Circuit in South Carolina. The 14th Judicial Circuit is known to be a plaintiff-friendly circuit. Hampton County is among the most pro-plaintiff trial venues in South Carolina, largely because of the influence of Mr. Murdaugh's law firm in pursuing cases there. Colleton County is not considered quite as plaintiff-friendly as Hampton County. Given Mr. Murdaugh's involvement as a party, not as an attorney for a party, I tend to think Mr. Murdaugh would be very favorably viewed by a jury in Hampton County or Colleton County.
Remember all those times we wondered if Alec and PMPED's influence over Hampton's juries intimidated the insurance companies into these large payouts? Well, there's our answer. And then there's this.
Absent a case being designated complex, cases are not assigned to particular judges in South Carolina. The 14th Circuit has 2 resident judges, Judge Perry Buckner and Judge Carmen Mullen. These judges know
Well,
Mr.
damn.
Murdoch and Mr. Fleming well.
Huh?
I said, well, damn, remember we were saying the other day that the same judge had all these cases. We was like, how many judges they got? Well, they ain't got nothing but 2.
That's what D Truth was saying. Cause yesterday we was talking about the fact that his fraud case was being his fraud case and the actual murder trial was being handled by the same judge. Which I think is weird. I don't give a fuck how special he is. You mean tell me y'all ain't got at least 2 judges, one to preside over the fraud and another to preside over the murder? But
He probably been sleeping with the female judge.
well, it was one female judge that signed off on that whole insurance scam thing, and it was a mess. So I don't know if he was sleeping with her. I just think he just pays a lot of people off. Hey, Miss Daly. Peeking in from the bush to say, make sure you watch the HBO. Wait a minute, Miss Daly. Now, I did the Netflix. Now you telling me it's an HBO documentary? Girl, we're trying to get through this to get to the trial. Oh, God. How long is it, Miss Daly? Yeah, this is a lot. Oh, my God, this is a lot.
Don't nobody want to hear you read no trial transcripts.
I'm not reading. I'm not reading no trial transcripts, man. She says it's a documentary. Hold on, let me see my baby want y'all.
We saw how they went for that other YouTube with it read transcripts. That shit boring. I think everybody and their mama done did a documentary about this. I'm still finding new stuff up here. And thanks a
Miss
lot,
Daly
Truth, for
said
making.
yes. Oh my God.
Thank you for making Mommy Dearest pop up in my damn algorithm. I didn't even know there was a real damn movie until the other day.
Try, you should watch it. You should watch Mommy Dearest. Is it free?
I put it on the watch later. I think it is. No,
You
actually,
need to
no.
watch it.
It's a
You
buy
should watch
a rent.
Mommy Dearest. HBO Max. Cut it down, Fafa. HBO Max. Miss Daly, see you coming in with a monkey wrench. Miss Daly, because I thought we was gonna do the whole phone conversations tomorrow, get into the trial Monday. I'm gonna watch it though. I'm gonna watch it. Thank you, Miss Daly. Trey, can you do that for me this weekend? Can you do that? Watch Mommy Dearest.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna. I'll see. What?
Don't talk to her like that. Answer her and see what she wants.
You said what? You gotta eat before you get some more candy.
Oh God, is she eating candy? You know what?
No, she ate one piece and she wanna keep eating something. I told her she gotta eat food.
Yeah, she do need to eat food. She do.
I don't even know why she up. The baby went to sleep at 5 o'clock.
Quit lying. Quit lying.
I am not. She went to sleep at 5. Remember, she woke up at the end of the live. She stayed up to 5.
That's right. I'm telling you, you need to check. You need to check her stage, baby. She on some type of
What you say?
I work with my daddy now.
You work with your daddy now?
Yeah.
I work with my dad. Look,
Yes, you
look,
do,
we have
baby
a
girl.
vaccine.
Trey, what kind of candy you gave her this early, Trey?
She had a Twix.
Oh God, not the chocolate.
It's the mini ones though. You know,
I don't care if it's the mini. I love baby girl. You gave her a that's chocolate. Chocolate.
I didn't give her nothing. That's what she picked out the bucket.
Y'all, it's gonna be a long weekend for Trey. She got an Easter basket or whatever she got from the daycare full of candy. Okay. And he has no control. Okay. And she's gonna be in and out of that bucket. all weekend. Okay, she's gonna be on candy. She's gonna be on a sugar high, and Trey has no control. Absolutely none. It is what it is. What you say? Put it up.
Yeah, it kind of gives you chills, right? Because here's the thing. On Friday the 13th, the state bar's past and current president, speaking on behalf of the state's 13,000 actively practicing attorneys, told us that they don't appreciate any insinuation that anything is wrong in their precious, occasionally imperfect world. That the system, which has benefited them this entire time, was built to work. So it works. And that's that. Stop looking at us. But here, one of those 13,000 attorneys in this report that he wrote in 2018,
Hold on. I need y'all to cover the Michael Rusk case. The police officer who killed his sergeant. Oh, wow, Miss Daly. I ain't heard of that one. Let me write that down. Hold on, y'all. Here is my pen. It's in here somewhere. Okay, here it is. Hold on, Miss Daly. Let me write that down. Okay, Miss Daly. I'll look into it, sweetie.
long before the world knew about Alec Murdaugh and South Carolina's rotten system, he is all but telling Lloyds of London to run. In black and white, he is saying exactly what we have been saying this entire time. But I guess it sounds different coming from us, right? Beyond the attorney's opinion piece in the Post and Courier, there are a number of social media posts that have questioned whether our characterization of the Murdaugh influence is hyperbole, whether we're seeing conspiracy behind every rock by talking about Judge Buckner and Judge Mullen. But look at this report. The Murdaugh influence was noteworthy enough for this attorney to make mention of it to two people on the Lloyds team, one of whom was in Orlando, Florida, and the other of whom was in London, literally not even in this country. He told them the jury and the judges are friendly to Murdaugh and Fleming. This report, written by one of the bar's attorneys, says, "Our system isn't fair, Lloyds, so pay your toll and keep moving." How can that possibly be when Mary Sharp just told us in the Post and Courier that, quote, "courts and judges are accountable to the Constitution and laws rather than ideologies, special interests, or individuals. Unlike legislators, judges do not have constituencies. Our fair and impartial justice system in the United States is respected and admired through the world. South Carolinians should be assured that our judges are diligent public servants who work conscientiously to ensure the judicial system operates with integrity." I would like to also quote Mary Sharp when I say, "Really? Really? Come on. You're joking." So even though Wallinger wrote in November 2018 that their liability was probable but not clear and convincing, in December 2018, Lloyds of London ultimately paid out the entire limit of Alec Murdaugh's policy at $505,000. That was the only part of the entire settlement that was on record. Remember, the insurance company found no evidence that the dogs caused Gloria to trip. Alec appeared to be the only one who pushed the dog theory from the get-go. And in the insurance company's defense, because Alec, the defendant, so readily admitted fault, and because his buddy, Corey Fleming, on the plaintiff's side, for the sake of intimidation, Lloyds of London was really backed into a corner due to Alec's plan. And there's one final line from Wallinger's report that he wrote in November 2018 that I have to point out.
Mr. Murdaugh does not want to be sued over this matter if practical and possible to avoid that, as he sees that a wrongful death lawsuit would be detrimental to him personally and professionally in that small rural community.
Oh, the irony of that statement as we look back now. We get it. Murdoch was Bollinger's client, and his job was to represent Murdoch's best interests. But man, isn't it telling to see on paper how badly he wanted to keep things quiet in November 2018. Just 3 months before this, he opened his second Forge account at Bank of America, which we all know what was going on there. And just 3 months after this statement was written, saying that a wrongful death lawsuit would be detrimental to him, Mallory Beach died in a boat crash that his son Paul was ultimately charged in. And that wrongful death settlement against him still looms to this day. The problems were just starting to mount for Alec. But as always, reputation is at the forefront of his mind. And the thing is, Alec knew that he had the power to keep things quiet because that is what ultimately happened. The paperwork for both the Lloyds of London settlement and the Nautilus settlement were not filed properly. There's only one document filed within both of those settlements, and that's the wrongful death petition that I found back in 2019. And do not forget, the named judge in both of those settlements was Carmen Mullen. We have not forgotten about her, and neither should you. Mullen,
judge.
a South Carolina judge elected by the state legislature.
That's that judge that approved that old fraudulent, frivolous ass insurance shit. Where you at, girl? Where you at?
Allegedly played a key role in this heist. Remember, Chad Westendorf said in his deposition that Mullen knowingly signed off on the off-the-books settlement in 2019 and paved the way for Murdoch to steal millions of dollars from the Satterfields. After that deposition, Bland and another South Carolina solicitor reported Mullen to the South Carolina Supreme Court's Commission on Judicial Conduct. This is important because our justice system is broken not only because lawyers are helping lawyers, it's broken because South Carolina judges are helping lawyers too. And right there is the problem, that the leaders of the South Carolina bar are not understanding. We have seen nothing from the Commission on Judicial Conduct regarding Mullen. Are they investigating her at all? Why is she still on the bench considering the serious accusations against her that are also backed by a paper trail? How are we supposed to trust the system in charge of correcting everyone's behavior when they clearly can't even correct their own behavior? If they investigated Mullen and found no wrongdoing, they need to tell us that. The taxpayers, the people who pay for Mullen's lofty and powerful position, the people that pay her to decide who gets their freedom taken away. The South Carolina Supreme Court Commission on Judicial Conduct has got to say something about Mullen. And as we've said so many times before, if a judge is corrupt, it's not the powerful movers and shakers who suffer. It is society's most vulnerable. It is people like the Satterfields. Wrongful death lawsuits are supposed to give people like the Satterfields the ability to get justice for what happened to them. These lawsuits not only help people get compensation for their suffering, but if done right, they get people answers. And because the Satterfield case was so skewed from the beginning due to Alec and his plan, these documents ultimately tell us what the Murdochs want us to think happened to Gloria. And while SLED is still investigating Gloria's death, it's so much harder to get answers in a case like this several years later. And attorneys know that. But the problem is when you read between the lines of the statement that the leaders of the SE Bar issued on Friday, they're ultimately saying they do not care about South Carolina's most vulnerable getting trampled by our justice system because they are still benefiting from it. South Carolina needs judicial reform desperately. I wish those lawyers who signed that letter could take a peek at my email inbox. I have literally hundreds of emails with heartbreaking stories waiting to be told about how the South Carolina justice system left South Carolina's citizens behind and no lawyers will help them. We're at a crossroads right now in our legal system, and if the systemic corruption we've exposed in this podcast does not serve as a catalyst for major change, I don't know what will. This is an election year, and the good old boys and the good old gals who are helping them have got to go.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Follow the Murdoch Murders podcast on Facebook and Instagram to learn how
y'all, that's the end. That's the end. That's the end. That's the end. Just in time. It's the end of that podcast on Miss Gloria. I will be checking for updates because, as you all know, Miss Gloria was exhumed and they did another autopsy. All right, so I will be keeping up with that to give y'all updates or whatever. Okay. All right, so we're gonna get off. We're gonna get off because Flex is going live in literally like 2 minutes. Ebooks, if you can. Trey, put that up. What Trey got? Oh, that's the comment you made about the candy. Oh yeah. All right.
What I
So
do?
nothing. Ebooks, please drop Flex's link again because we're about to head over to the porch to Miss Flexy to see what she's talking about. I will be live later on again today. Actually, probably like 2 more times today. So y'all look out for my schedule lives and notification. I think Trey is taking a lazy day. I don't know. Well, until later. He's surprise. He's got a surprise for y'all. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all for supporting this content hashtag. Is it on her backup channel?
Yeah, it's on the People's Champ.
Okay,
Same
great.
channel she was on last night.
Okay, great. All right, so yeah, I appreciate y'all supporting this hashtag content that matters. I honestly do. Thank you to my moms that showed up. I appreciate y'all as well. Thanks to Trey who showed up late. Oh God.
You was on mute when I showed up, ma'am, so it don't even count.
But anywho,
without me showing up late, you wouldn't have knew you was muted.
But anywho, you gonna catch the replay, Rice Case? Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. We ain't gonna talk about that. Since he always want to call me out for being late, calling me banana saying shit. But yeah, thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. Y'all be sure to hit the like button if you have not already. All right, you can still support the channel by hitting the cash app if you feel it in your spirit. All right, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I hope everybody. Thank you, Miss K. I hope everybody have a blessed, beautiful Friday, and I'm going to do my part to contribute to that. All right. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to the True Sippers and State Gang. Shout out to my wonderful mods and also my monetary contributors. Okay. With that being said, we out of here. I'll see y'all over there on the porch around yonder. Thank you, Scorpio. Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you. With that being said, we out of here, y'all. All right. I'll see y'all later. All right.